Welcome back to Stationeers, and it's time for a little amendment to what we did last episode. We were making this, the sort of carnival ride sort of approach to sending ingots around, and it works. It works-ish, and I say ish because I've managed to jam it once by trying to get stuff out through two machines, and what happened is this machine jammed. In fact, it jammed so thoroughly that it didn't matter if I took two chutes out here, it was still, that door was still closed. Turned it off, turned it back on, pulled this handle, pushed it back up again, didn't do a thing. You had to deconstruct the entire machine. So I think what we may have to do is put stackers on this side. And I did get a good suggestion from Brian R saying you probably need a stacker anyway between the furnace array output all the way down there and, somewhere around here. And all of this because the furnace can actually deliver too many ingots essentially. But we may well need the same things just here, and that's possible. All we need to do is just extend these out by one, and we'll be able to do that because this is the input to each of the machines. So as it gets fed from the previous one, we should put a stacker here or something like that, and let's see if that can control it. Hopefully the stacker doesn't jam. But that's just another machine to go through, which may slow things down a little. Anyway, I did get another suggestion from 4.yt for a really good enhancement to this, actually, and we'll give it a go, and let's see if it's actually available to us. So what 4.dots was saying was that wouldn't it be good if I didn't have to actually manage these handles myself? Because, if one's here, then I have to close this one, and then look at the state of this one and then decide where I want the ingots to go. Wouldn't it be good if they just managed themselves? I agree. It would be very, very good. So to do that, we probably should look at some motion sensors. Hopefully these levers are available for us to write to because we're going to have to use an IC of some kind. So if you'll see where roughly my machines are aligned. They're a little bit off, but sort of even if they're evenly spaced, I think. Yeah, they look evenly spaced, but that's not the same spacing as the blocks. That shouldn't matter terribly as long as we can get a motion sensor in above where we're going to be stood. So if we're stood here and we want the motion sensor sort of here, then if I flip that around for a second, as long as you detect that I'm underneath you, yes you do, then we should be able to respond to that. And the same thing is going to be true in here. So for around here, we should be able to fit them. Ooh, actually, that's I'm going to need another frame. Just temporarily, that is. Build a frame. Let's move that over. So, yeah, I'm going to want something sort of above here. There it is. And let's just put this other one in while that's going. So, around about here, that will do. And the last one, I'm just going to need to weld up. So, let's grab our welder. And you can leave these blocks in or not once the thing is constructed, entirely up to you. If you want to make them part of your ceiling, you do want to make sure though that they are. I don't think the sensors will work more than about a block away. So if I put the sensor here, there it is. It's sensing and it stops. Yeah, so that's only one block range. So if you have a too high ceiling, just be a bit careful because you probably won't get the results you want if they don't work like that. So let's just grab our sensor and sort of around about here is fine. Okay, and yeah, they're all sort of right in front of the control panels. And I'm gonna have to take the floor up again, aren't I? Honestly, this floor has been removed more times than anything else, but yeah, we'll just expose some of our cabling because we are going to be using an IC, I would imagine, to do this. I can't see any reasonable way of doing it without using ICs. It should be straightforward with ICs, hopefully. First of all, what I want to actually do is get an IC, and I want to get a reader of some kind. Let's take a look at... I assume Logic Reader will do the job without problems. Where am I going to put this? It's going to be on the main network, which is going to be slightly awkward, but I'll just put it down there for a moment and get some tools. So let's just get this going. In fact, we can just go for the brute force approach. Where's my four-way junctions? There we go. yeah, I know you're going to complain, but this is the quickest way to get them down without worrying about the different versions. So this is where I really, really wish that you could use your data card to copy whatever this is and input it onto whatever this is. Otherwise, you have this whole fun, and well, there's only one hydraulic pipe bender, but it's time to click for a while if you're on a single large network. 1 second. Okay, so here's our bender, and let's see what kind of settings we've got available on it. So power, open, error, activate, no reagents on required power, recipe hash, completion ratio, export count, power, open, no. None of that's any good. I actually need the state of this. Is that open? It may be open. Let's have a look. So if I just go through here, open, 0, 1. Good. We have that available easily then. So we just need the open property and be able to set that to 0 or 1. Good logic reader. Okay, so with that in place, what we're going to kind of decide is where to put our IC for this. That's an okay place, but I'd sort of prefer, it depends whether we're going to use this somewhere else. And whether we're going to need room somewhere else. So maybe we should put it around here. And can our computer network see it if we do that? I don't have any spare cable that's just hanging around, so that's fine. We can always move it later, of course, but we don't need this anymore. So we know we need the open property, and let's deconstruct that. And yes, before you complain, I will tear up the cable. 1 second before I start getting complaints. There we go. That'll do for now. Got plenty more cable available, so that's not much of a problem. So if I put the IC down around here, and then we will connect everything else together. I don't think we're going to need a stacker on this side, so this should do. So let's just bring our cable around and do it properly this time. Okay, and the IC needs a little bit of finagling to get this right. So let's just get the actual IC down, or the housing at least. There it is, and it needs connection on both sides of this. So we're fine to do it that way, I think. Yeah, it's the wrong way up. Visually, I want it the right way up. Leave my drill. Of course, it doesn't really matter which way it is up, but yeah, just for aesthetic reasons. And there we go. So we'll just go with the junction for now. A straight piece, a corner. And we'll go with the junction because I'm probably going to need to connect the computer. And for now, why don't we just put our computer here? I think they should solve the problem of connections. And let's put that back. Now, you may not have this if you're playing, because I think this should actually be fixed by the time you get this version. But there is currently a bug on the beta branch which causes problems if you use decimal places in numbers. So I've just changed this to fix it to divide by 3 and then multiply by 2 instead of dividing by 1.5. It works fine either way, just in case you still have that, all your solar panels are stuck for some reason that you don't know what's going on. It's just that bug. It should be fixed very, very shortly, I would imagine, before it gets to release branch. So that is just fine. And everything up there is back to working again. I don't think I use decimal places in constants that much elsewhere, so we don't have the issue all that much. There we go. Turn you on, turn you on. And now we're not going to have as much room on this IC as we are going to need with others, because we're going to need to be able to see each of those motion sensors and each of the machines. So if you have more than 3 machines here, you're going to have a bit of a problem in that we've only got 6 breakouts. Well, technically 7 if we use the base. So the base of the housing, that is. So we can read the housing by something else. which may mean if we had a fourth machine, we're going to have a few issues. And if we also want an unload station, we'll come onto that kind of concept later, but i.e. to pull out ingots on request or something like that, or even just dump all ingots for me right now, I'll either need to have a separate system that arbitrarily is on the end of this. All the ingots will come out and through that station, which is independently controlled to all the rest of this stuff, and then we can get stuff, you know, on a separate network or something like that. But yeah, in the meantime, that's not a big deal. Let's just pop you in. So we're going to want to rename our stations. So let's just call, what do we call them actually? Oops. There we go. So auto lathe motion, electroprint motion, and pipe bender motion or something like that. That will do. So we've got 3 motions. And what I may actually have to do is probably move them back a little bit into that space, because they could trigger a little bit too soon. If I walk here. Whoops. Well, that one's all right. Did this one trigger too soon? It's green at the moment. Motion sensor, yeah. That's not turning off. This one's working. That one's just not turning off. Is that a motion sensor, or did I put in a solar sensor by mistake? That looks like I put in a solar sensor. They need actual models, different models, please. There we go. Daylight sensor. Maybe they do have different models, and I just can't. No, they look the same. That's better. The tooltip isn't showing solar information. There's a really big clip, really big clue. There we go. So electroprint motion, and I probably just missed the original name of it. It was probably something like solar sensor. Yeah, I'm not always the most observant when I'm trying to think about talking to you guys at the same time, as you've no doubt found out. So IC housing, that's fine. Let's just hit import. And that is the hydroponics side of things. So we're going to just rename this thing, because it's going to have access to everything. So IC ingots. Yeah, IC ingots. And we can choose that one. Import, and we should get a nice blank canvas. All right, now all I'm going to do is set each of these off camera, of course, because it's a big network, and I don't have a data card to automatically do this. We're going to select each of the motion sensors on the left, so D0 through D2, and each of the machines on the right, so D3 through D5. Okay, so I've added some aliases, and I put back down our logic reader temporarily just to look at what property we were looking for to grab it into our code. And it looks like activate, it's set to 1 at the moment. That's green. If I, whoops, that's a bug. That's definitely a bug. If it's set to, if it's off there, you'll see it's 0, 1. Okay. Right, so we have our integrated circuit editor. So let's take a look at this. If we go to edit for a second, what we're going to be looking for is to load. So we're going to be pulling into, you know, a register. So let's load into R0, something from, let's just say D0. So it's going to be A motion. In fact, let's do P motion first, because that's closer to me. And then we're going to load in the activate state. So activates in R0. And then all we're going to do is then we're going to set whether that lever is up or down for each of the other 3, depending on what is in R0. All right, let's see if my code does anything. Sounds like it's doing something. All the stuff's heading this way. There we go. All right, let's take a look at the code and let's see what it's actually doing. All right. So there's probably a few ways to do this, and this is only one. So if we have a look in here, we're going to load the pipe bender motion sensors activate into R0. And R0 is just a temporary variable. We don't even need to name it. Then we're going to look at BEQ, branch to line C if A equals B, is equivalent to B. There's many other methods you can use to this. We're just testing to see if activate is 0. And if it is 0, we're just going to jump to line 12 because we don't need it. Okay? However, if it's not 0, if it's 1, someone stood in front of the pipe bender. That means I want to set the pipe benders open to 0 first, so the lever goes up and in, so it will retain ingots. And then we're just going to set the auto lathe to pull the lever and the electroprint to also pull the lever. That means that all of this is self-contained, which means in turn I could probably just copy that, go into a notepad or something like that, and paste 2 more of these sections. 1 second. And here we have just that. So we've now got 3 sections. You can probably try and use a relative jump instead of this absolute 1.5 here. But otherwise, it's the same in each section. If we're looking at pipe bender motion, we set pipe bend to 0 first. The autolathe motion, we set autolathe to 0 first. Electroprint, we set electroprint to 0 first. And then we set the other 2 to 1. Okay, and each time we're skipping over if it equals 0. So confirm, export. And now let's see if this works. So if I go and stand in front of this, you'll see that lever moved. And this depends whether all of this will get stuck. Doesn't look like it's getting stuck at the moment, but there we go. We're getting all of our ingredients in without me having to do anything except stand in front of the machine I want to use. Now, its downside is that I can't deal with multiple machines at once. Otherwise, we're still going to start getting these well, all the ingots will start moving around. But the one thing I wanted to test is just going from all the way from the auto lathe, see if it jams again if I go here. Okay, so it should be coming all the way down here. And then what I want to test is going from the Atmos print through to the electroprint, because that's, I think, where it jammed when I was doing this before. But it's all looking pretty nice so far. And we're not looking like we need the stacker, but you never know. Okay, so that's, 7 different ingot types. And now, if I go in through into the middle, there we go. And up it comes. And let's see whether that jams. Quite easy testing this. We just stand where we are. And of course, we can always replace those with windows to see the ingots moving around. But right now, though, this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to put this on a program in a paste bin. And some of you will no doubt want to improve it. But so far, that's working really well and much, much nicer than before. So now we can just take these blocks out of the top and we can start thinking about putting in safety features if we want it. So one of the safety features, again, as suggested by Brian R., I think it was essentially a stacker here. And then what we've also got to think about, and I'm not going to do this episode, I'm going to leave this one to be quite a short one, just very focused on this one thing. Again, I've had a couple of really long ones, so I don't want to occupy too much of your time, but we now need to think about, at some point, adding an unloading station. An unloading station should be relatively straightforward. We're going to extend these chutes out when it gets, in fact, it's going to be this one right here, and this one's going to go up, and it's going to have to come out here somewhere into an unloading station. And that is going to have to be something like a sorter, and a computer controlled sorter at that. Now, we have what I was going to say is we have 7 possible values here we can use. That may not be enough, though. Well, if we want to unload a lot of the more common stuff, there's relatively uncommon stuff we don't really use all that often, or we don't need to pull back out. So stuff like the main ingots, so, iron, copper, gold, etc., we could think about that. Well, what I was thinking of doing was, the simplest thing would be to just put a sorter and have a switch, and have it so that when the switch is on, anything that's an ingot gets ejected, basically. Otherwise, it passes through if the switch isn't on. and then you don't really need to do anything except stand near the auto lathe, because then all the stuff will get pulled through the entire system and into the unloading station before trying to go back to the auto lathe, and it won't be able to. It will come into the station here and unload onto the floor. The other thing I was thinking about is to make that a little bit smarter is to add a requester station here. So, I could put a block here or something along those lines, or even something on the floor or above, doesn't really much matter. A control panel of some kind. I think we can probably even put the electronic control panels in. I haven't really used them all that much, but they're basically a switch, and you can basically access them, read them, and use them to control it. Oh, I do like it when it's all cleaned up like this. Instead of using an area power control or something, you can use a console with control circuitry, and then you could just mount them above and on a block or something, and then you could just press, hey, just give me all the iron, and then it would lock the sorter into iron or something along those lines, and then you still have to trigger all of this to start cycling. Now we could, you see, I'm running out of available inputs here. Yeah, we'd have to have some other way. Well, we can still access. No, it's still fine. Yeah, because it can function entirely independent to this program. So we can have a second IC down here that's basically looking at the same. We don't need the motion sensors. Looking at the same open state, sets them all to open 0. No, open 1. So that they'll all pass through and they'll come into the unloading station. And then, of course, we may have to have some kind of buffer so that they can be assessed for whatever button you've pushed, and then they would then unload that thing and the rest would go around or something along those lines. Slight downside with that is that while that's happening, all of these levers are open, so all the ingots are circulating. So I want to leave that one as a thought experiment for you guys to think about, because there are a few different ways of doing it. I quite like the idea of ordering stuff, and not only for ingots, but eventually perhaps for stuff out of the airlocks, the common stuff. Hey, I want pipe. Just push a button, give me 50 pipe, please, and don't worry about it, that kind of thing. And, all of our batteries are charged. So that kind of thing is where I think we're headed. This is a good start, but I think we need to improve that further. And of course, I need to put all this stuff back underground. But I think I will leave all these sensors above the top. You can put these on the floor, but if you put them on the floor, then you got to stand on them and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got to have a think about where I want to be able to stand to go and trigger this. It may be better to flip those around and run the cable that way. It certainly is a little easier on the floor to route cable. So yeah, think about it. Decide where to put it for yourself. Okay, so hope you liked the episode. Fairly simple one, but a nice extension to that system. And we'll get back into the auto sorting thing next episode, promise. Or indeed, even the Europa, because the Europa is coming out soon. I did want to mention one other thing. I've mentioned it on the channel before. There is a new game going into alpha very shortly called Satisfactory. It's going into alpha on October 17th. They're going to be doing small batches at once. So please do go to Satisfactory's website. It's a factory-based game if you like that kind of thing. When, of course, if you're watching this, then you do like that kind of thing, hopefully, unless you just like the sound of my voice, but either way. Go and sign up for the newsletter. They'll be picking up a few hundred in the first wave and then inviting more waves. It will be under NDA, so I can't stream or record and release it on YouTube if I do get selected. But if I don't, I'm sure many of you will have a chance to get selected as well. There is no paid option into the alpha. Maybe even at the beta stage I can get in that way, if unless anyone knows the developers who want to give me a key. Yes, key. In any case, hope you've enjoyed the episode. We'll see you next time for some more Stationeers. Thanks for watching.